This is a neighborhood in Beaverton, Oregon. But let's not call it a typical neighborhood because it's not. A black family lives here. They live down there in that house with a moving van out front. That's right, they're moving. They claim they've been terrorized and harassed by their white neighbors.
When maybe it was about 3 o'clock, something woke me up, and I believe, like I said, was fate. And our house was pitch black, and someone was saying, "There's some in every room. There's some of them in every room." He said, "What you going to?" Someone else said, "What you going to do?" He said, "Burn them up, burn them all up."
This is what you heard the people in the house saying.
The fella, it was a man, no doubt about it. And
so what did you do?
I was hollering and screaming. Well, I had kind of was hearing them talking, and I was nudging my husband to wake up.
As there had been a number of threats placed upon them. There had been 2 breaking and enterings on the 2 previous nights to my being hired, where there were individuals within the house, which terrorism is the most bigoted form of humanity I've ever seen. I lived in Beaverton all my life, and I can't believe that this is actually happening here. I'm thoroughly disgusted.
Ash thrown all over the garage. We've had fires out the back, and they have thrown lime on the porch. Then plus I had 3 snakes put in my mailbox, and I'd rather take and get shot 10 times than to see a snake.
Haven't met the Scotts. We've tried on past occasion, but there seems to be a little desire on their part to become acquainted with the social strata here in the area.
I never want to appear prejudiced or anything else. I just honestly have not taken the time to go over and meet her. And I did not know that there has been harassment, and I feel very bad about it.
Okay.
Of harassment? No.
They're going to leave. Do you feel one way or another about that?
No comment.
So the Scotts are moving, going back to Washington, D.C. Mrs. Scott and the children will fly out. Mr. Scott will follow in this moving van. The neighbors I talked to didn't seem particularly glad or sad about their leaving. One white neighbor did comment, "It's too bad, but there probably won't be any more trouble now." This is Mike Donahue, reporting from Beaverton, Oregon.
I indicated to them that I was recommending the same level of budget support that the school district now provides for next year, but that if all model city funds are cut off, why we would have to re-examine the issue, just as we will with the Residential Manpower Center and many other programs that are directly affected by federal funds coming to the school district. I indicated that it was possible that I could recommend some increase in the school district contribution to that budget, but that if all model city funds were completely eliminated, that there was no chance that we could provide support up to that level.
How much money?
We came over here today and closed the job down simply because they only have 5 minorities in a predominant minority area with only 5 black people on the job and 25 Russians. And we want black carpenters and we want minorities in every skill from here on out. Not this job, but any job that has federal funds, we will be there to close it if we do not get people. Well, he sent the letter. Right. Yes, sir. I know, sir.
Yes, well, we hope they get down and get that stuff out. We can. We'll just be polite and leave.
Hey, Hank.
Just take it off when you got. Well, I'm gonna stick around, Jack.
All right.
We set them on a production scale that we say that we expect at each month that you should hit a certain level of performance. We're now at the halfway point in this particular contract, and because of the nature of the building construction trades, they are open at one time in a given year where it's not across the board kind of an open thing. Some of them open once a year, maybe January, the others maybe September, October, so it eliminates our monthly production rate. But having looked around at all of our placements, we're now quite concerned by the lack of Chicanos and American Indians who are to utilize the services that we have available. I know we've had the situation in many cases where the trades have said we don't apply. Now we're saying that the Chicanos and American Indians have not applied in bulk, and we find that this is a great problem. It is a minority-based program, and we're dealing with all ethnic groups.
It's common for any person who is not a minority to join a union and pay his dues, his entrance fee, whatever it's called, over a period of time. Minorities have traditionally, when they have applied for admittance to a union, been told that they had to pay this fee to get into the union up front. In other words, immediately, and not allowed any time to pay it out, which has kept a lot of minorities out of unions because they don't have the money right at the start. Also, when minorities get into unions, very often they are the last people sent out on jobs. And once they've gotten in the union, or maybe even been sent out on a job, they may be like 5 minutes late one time to work, and they'll be fired instantly.
Now, I don't mind him having a task force, but I still think that he should have consulted some of us. He's got some black on there, but we don't know him. The one guy down there said he's working for the Water Bureau. Well, he's an establishment person. He's not from this, he's from this community, but he doesn't know anybody here. And what we're saying, why didn't the mayor come to us and say, I'm forming a task force, you're the one hollering the loudest, give us somebody to put on this board to help investigate this thing. We didn't get this, we don't appreciate it.
The main purpose of Project Outreach is to seek out and find those minorities who wish to get into the building and construction trades. Once we find them, we bring them through our classroom, and if they need coaching in to take a GED test or a GATB testing system or any other testing system that the program requires, we teach them that in the classroom. And once they're completed in the classroom, then we forward them on to the apprenticeship committee. We've been in business for 4.5 years, and we have placed approximately 160 to 70 people in the apprenticeship and training programs.
We asked the contractor to meet with these people who have organized into a group and know where they're going, to meet with them and cut out an affirmative action plan that is fair and equitable to all parties that would be concerned. Now, in this particular matter, with the Eugene Federal Office Building, is the one that I am concerned with and involved with, 2 out of 6, in my opinion, is not an unreasonable figure. I feel that it is a very fair figure for the hiring of minorities throughout this entire project.
Well, that wasn't the intent exactly. In order to fulfill the requirements of the federal regulations concerning equal opportunity, we're required to fill out an affirmative action program, and in that name the minority resources that are available in the area for locating minority workmen.
If the history is not correctly interpreted, it will demobilize you. Now, we can look at the difference even between, well, most of the history, first of all, was written by the enemy. We know that. It was written by our oppressors. That's understood. But even let's take an example between our history, which they write, and their history, which they write. Let's take an example. All of their history is positive. Do you hear me? All of their heroes are positive. They have no negative images.
We're going to cancel some of the programs. The Black Communicators Conference has been canceled, even though some of the people who were going to come and participate were doing so, on their voluntary basis. We feel that from what we have seen, that it's not worth spending $3,000 to $5,000 to put up a conference like this when we have no participation and there's no interest in from the local community. Let me get this interview.
Okay.
You give you $5,000 to run a program, and that isn't even enough to run the administrative side of the program, let alone bring anybody.
We changed that and turned it into a class action suit in order for everybody that was qualified. We wanted the doors open more than we wanted the money. We want the opportunity for these guys to work, not just for a buck. So we changed it from a $6 million suit to a class action suit. That covers all minorities, whether they're black, white, blue, green, or polka dot, or whatever. If they're an operator, we want them to have the chance to operate.
Dang. I am in August to see my dad.
What did he do in fashion that they had I really liked was one Gilda had on. I don't know.
Did you like that it had some lime pie? Like?
Most of the majority of what I got out of that class is kind of more or less real.
Was thinking about doing, because
Yeah.
it's working with people and everything. It's some car trouble, wasn't that? Yeah. Yeah.
Can he come at all?
Yeah.
He called all the way up there?
Over the course of the past over the year, I got the first time I was in the class was last summer.
Well, even during Davis's tenure here, we've hired minorities, women and racial minorities both. So I don't think it's a matter of discrimination; it's a matter of qualification. We have just tremendously high selection ratio now because it's a good job market.
We have attacked the problem from several different angles, and the primary angle is trying to get additional federal funding from other sources, the state level, Multnomah County, and private foundations. We appeared before Governor Strzok in January, and he indicated to us at that time that he would see what he could do to try to find funding through the state level.
The center provides the community with medical care during hours when most healthcare agencies are not open. And if the center is forced to close, ill persons needing treatment during those off hours will probably be forced to go to a hospital emergency room. Marky Mazel's Channel 6 News in North Portland.
I'm very optimistic that the center is going to be able to survive. It's just a matter of putting the various pieces together and pulling in various sources of funding. I think that one of the things that we will be experiencing, that we will not be getting our fund from one source, as in relation to the Model Cities program, that we will have to tie in pieces of funding from various other sources.
We demand to know how an officer could feel his life is being threatened by someone who is obviously running away. Was it necessary to shoot Ricky in the head? Why not shoot to maim instead of to kill? Obviously, the officer was close enough to be able to get a clear shot. If the police were completely aware of the robbery attempt the Young brothers were allegedly planning, why didn't they simply surround the house and order all inside to come out? Where could they have gone? If they had come out shooting, we could understand retaliation by the police. But to have apparently set them up so that the situation was allowed to easily get out of hand and have a young life wasted was unnecessary on the part of the police.
Every time there's been a serious incident in the Bureau, we've gone through a reanalysis of the Bureau's procedures, both as to firearms and tactical problems, and that would be done this time with or without an inquest, but I'm sure the inquest will make public some of the concerns the community has about those things, and they're appropriate. I mean, I think this is a police agency that is supposed to be serving the community and feels that it is, and I think as it indicated at the time of the incident, has nothing to hide and is willing to go through this process to show the community how it reaches its decisions.
Baker is a child killer! 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 Baker is a child killer!
We demand to know how an officer could feel his life is being threatened by someone who is obviously running away.
Fire Chief Baker! Fire Chief Baker!
This kind of situation and should be utilized in those kind of situations.
Did you meet with Robert Blanchard?
Yes, I met with Bob Lamb of the Department of Justice.
Citizens wanting to know what is a public inquest, or could we use it, and giving us their recommendations on it, and talk to us.
The main purpose of this is to solve it. We completed basically
3, was it justified or was it not justified? Basically limited to that type.
Fireproof Baker! Fireproof Baker! Fireproof Baker! Fireproof Baker!
I'm going to go out and
Fireproof Baker!
Yeah. How you doing?
Baker! Child killer! Fire Chief Baker! 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 Baker is a child killer! 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 Baker is a child killer!
Ricky Johnson died after being shot by Portland Police Bureau patrolman Kenneth Sanford, who was disguised as a cab driver. This morning, District Attorney Harl Haas said there will be a public inquest to determine whether or not the killing was justified.
We made the decision in this case because we've had a great deal of public interest, public concern, and it just seemed to be a case after consultation with various members of the community that we felt it was in the interest of the police officer, it was in the interest of the Portland Police Bureau, it was in the interest of the community that we have it publicly held. Because a grand jury, of course, as you know, those proceedings are secret.
Members of Portland's black community and the Portland State University Black Student Union expressed outrage at Johnson's death and the police slayings of 4 other minority people in the last 5 months. Spokespersons met with Police Chief Bruce Baker this morning, and the chants of demonstrators outside could be clearly heard in the conference room. After the conference, Baker said he will not expel Patrolman Sanford from the force.
Why not? Because it has not been our policy in the past, and it is not our policy now, and we will not be changing it at this time. This is something, suspension would not be what would take place. The officer, the suggestion was made that he be relieved from duty with pay. And this is a policy that is considered in some communities or is utilized in some communities, and I did agree that we would discuss this at a staff level as a policy for the Police Bureau.
The demonstrators, calling for Baker's dismissal, walked to a city park at 4th Avenue and Southwest Salmon Street after expressing dissatisfaction with the Baker conference.